What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Restoration Rundown Podcast, the podcast that's dedicated to you, the restoration business owner. Today, we're kicking off part one of a three-part series on how to set your restoration business up for success by protecting your digital brand assets. Your digital brand assets for your restoration business are probably one of the most important things that you need to make sure that you set up, manage, and maintain on a regular basis, and is one of the biggest points of failure that we see consistently here at Ironclad Restoration Marketing when we're talking to restoration businesses across the United States. So today, we're going to kick off a multi-part series on how you can set your restoration business up for success by simply protecting, maintaining, and managing your digital brand assets. Now, when I'm talking about digital brand assets or tangible brand assets, traditionally you'd be thinking about things like your color scheme, your company messaging, and things like that. But what I'm talking about is something more tangible and probably just as important as your business license for your business. And those are things like your logo, your domain name, your domain registrar, your website and its contents, all of your social media accounts, and any other digital accounts where you have a branded company asset, meaning you have a company Facebook account or a company YouTube or your Google My Business, or even things like your analytics, your Google Ads accounts, and things like Angie's List and even Yelp sometimes, okay? So those are the things that we're going to talk about and talk about why it's important to take control of those things. And as these series goes on, we're going to actually show you how to set them up because the best way to do this is DIY. So why are your brand assets one of the most important parts of your business, and you shouldn't trust them to just anyone, is because these are the things that nowadays with the digital marketing landscape and just the nature of how people are finding property damage restoration contractors, and quite frankly, most businesses that exist in this world right now, is they're finding them online with their phone, on a computer, and it's only going to get more and more and more in that direction. So more people are using their devices to find businesses. All right, so again, you don't want to just trust those things to anybody. And again, they separate you from your competition. These brand assets, your Facebook, your logo, your company, your contents on your website name, all of those things separate you from your competition. They help you build trust with your clients, and they also help you build authority. Now, I'm not just talking about building authority as like the best property damage contractor in your local area, but I'm talking about with Google. And if you know anything about digital marketing or you've listened to our videos, that's the name of the game in Google's eyes, right? So you're building digital authority in order to climb the rankings and be considered as a trusted business for their client base. And you know, Google, we concentrate on Google a lot. They have the lion's share of search. I think it's like something like 90%, okay? So the big problem that we see, and again, we talk to restoration companies all across the United States, in every single state, even in Canada, is that they're trusting these things to other people. Now, whether it's their neighbor's kid or employee's kid, or even like a nephew or a niece that knows web design and knows some marketing or whatever, you know, the fact remains is a lot of guys and women out there that own these restoration businesses, you know, may not be as technically savvy, or at least they think they're not as technically savvy, so they're trusting setting up these accounts to somebody else, okay? Or they're even trusting, another big one we see is you're letting a marketing company do that, right? So the problem is with letting a marketing company or letting your neighbor's kid or some little, you know, somebody that knows, even an IT guy, I've seen IT guys set up websites so many times, and it's just, you end up building and spending this money and spending this time, and you end up having to start over from scratch at the end of the day. And that's actually a best case scenario, is starting over from scratch. The worst case scenario is you don't own your website content, you don't own your domain name, you have no access to your social media accounts, like somebody else used their email to set them up and you have no idea. I can't tell you how many of our current clients were in that situation where we're saying, oh, well, give us access to your pay-per-click ad, your Google Ads account, or give us access to your social media. And they're like, we don't have any idea. And then when we do some research, the emails are with an ex-employee that got fired, or an old partner that got fired, or somebody's neighbor's kid that you have no idea where they're even at. So that's the biggest problem I see there, is not having ownership of that stuff, because again, as time goes on and the way people find businesses, trends more in the direction of personal devices and the digital landscape, those things are becoming even more and more important, right? So the solution is always do it yourself. Now, when we talked about all those problems that people have, either the employee's gone or they don't have access to the email anymore, it's the same to me. And what I tell a lot of people, it's like starting your business and then being like, hey, having your neighbor, hey, go down to the city and get my business license for me. Just put it in your name. I don't care. I don't have time. I don't know anything about going to get businesses licenses. Or, hey, go get me a lease on a building. I don't care. I don't know much about real estate. So go get me a lease, and I don't care whose name it is. And then you go to renew your lease, or you go to renew your license, and like lo and behold, your name's not on the business, the lease agreement. Your name's not on the business license. It's the same. Letting somebody else set up your Google business, letting someone else set up your digital assets is ridiculous. And again, I get it. I see where people are at, but when you put it like that, like I'm not going to go get my own lease on my building because I'm not a real estate agent. I don't know anything about real estate, but you know what? My neighbor's wife's aunt is a real estate agent. I'm just going to let her go do it. No questions asked. You go about your business, running your business and doing these things, and 9 months down the road, you turn around and you're like, oh my God, I don't even own this business license, or whatever the case may be. So again, it doesn't take any technical knowledge really at all, despite what anybody says. Websites and things like that do, but at least setting yourself up from the get-go with the right foundation is enough, right? And then when it comes to your website and the contents of your social media and your Google business, that's stuff that you just want to make sure that you're paying attention to with your marketing agreements if you're working with a digital marketing agency like us, or you're even trusting an employee to do that stuff. You got to make sure that you're the one that holds the master key, okay? The bank doesn't just give one person a key to the vault and that's it. And if that person dies or they lose the key, then everybody's money's locked up, and that's kind of the same thing. So you want to make sure you're building it right from the start. DIY is the way to go. At the minimum, and again, we're going to get into this in the next video about domain registrar and what it is and why and how and all that stuff. But at the minimum, make sure, if you're not going to watch any of the other videos, that you are registering and you are the registrar of your website's domain. Make sure that you or somebody that you really trust is the one that owns your Google My Business. And actually, Google Business just changed the way they do their whole management and ownership. Because we've seen so many times we're taking over somebody's Google My Business where they're just not the owners of it. So, they have 500 reviews and everything's looking good, but they're dead in the water because they fired a marketing agency that owned their Google My Business. And that company's like, yeah, good luck getting a hold of them. Typically people don't always play ball when they get fired, the scorned kind of feeling. And the same goes for your Facebook, your Instagram, your YouTube, your LinkedIn, all that stuff. Again, you wouldn't trust somebody else to make the lease, set up the lease, buy your vehicles, get your business license, join the IICRC or one of those places under somebody else's name. Then, the same goes for your digital assets, okay? So I really want you to tune in on to part 2 on actually how to set these things up right from the get-go to protect yourself from anybody stealing your brand assets or owning them where you have no control over anything. Because as important as it is, it's something that we talk to so many restoration contractors out there that put themselves in that position that I felt like it's really important to spend this time to show you guys how to do this. So tune in to part 2 on how to set yourself up right, and we'll talk to you soon.